outside over here. This one is the sleeve. Okay. This entire thing, ये पूरा sleeve का ही part है. This is a part of the sleeve. And this sleeve has got an outside gear, pinion gear, which engages with the rack gear. This is the fuel rack. You can see that. So fuel rack can go in and go out. It will cause the clockwise or anti-clockwise turning of the sleeve. And this clockwise and anti-clockwise turning of the sleeve will cause the helical groove position to shift. So it will come earlier or later in front of the spill ports. Remember, these pumps will be having double helix. The double helical groove on plunger. You have helical groove on the plunger 180 degree opposite. So you have helical groove. If it is cut over here, then it is also cut on the opposite side, also 180 degree opposite. So basically, when the spill is taking place, the spill is not just taking place from one side, but spillage is taking place on both the sides. So I told you some advantage of the same last Saturday when I took your class on fuel pump. Some advantage I told you that when there is a helix from only on one side and when it is on both the sides, what advantage are you getting? Roll number 24.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Sir.
So where did you go that time?
Sorry, sir.
You ran away.
Actually, I was using it on my mobile and my phone got switched off. Sorry.
Okay, so can you tell me that when I was explaining the fuel pump last Saturday?
Yes, sir.
I told you that if there is one helical groove, you attended that class of mine?
Yes, sir.
So when you have only helical groove on one side and spillage taking place only on one side, or if you have the spillage taking place on both the sides, what are the advantages which you're getting in, when you have grooves, helical groove on both the cut on both the sides of the plunger instead of only on one side of the plunger? नहीं याद है?
Sir, I just remember related to erosion था कुछ.
Yeah, erosion से related तो यहाँ पे erosion plug है. You can see that. So you can see that we have the erosion plug, and this erosion plug is mounted on the pump body. This is the body of the pump. Okay, so ये जो पूरा है hashed portion, this is the body of the pump. ये पूरा body है pump का. Okay, इसमें erosion plug is mounted over here and erosion plug is mounted over here. Why erosion plug is mounted on both the sides here? Because the cutoff of the fuel, the spill of the fuel will be taking place from both the sides, since you have the spill port here and you have the spill port here, because the plunger has got helical groove on both the sides, diametrically opposite. So spill will not only take place on this side, but also on this side. So both the sides you have the erosion plug which are mounted on the pump body. But my question is, why helical groove on both the sides? The pump which I had shown to you that day was having helical groove only on one side. And I told you that
to avoid side thrust.
Yes, very good. So that is to avoid the side thrust. Excellent. And if the side thrust is there, then what will happen if you don't avoid that? Yes. अगर side thrust होगा तो क्या होगा? If you don't,
the vibration of injector.
No. Vibration में कहाँ से आ गए? If you have a side thrust, what will be equal and opposite reaction? You are going to apply this thrust onto what? Plunger से thrust किसको transmit होगा? It will be transmitted to what? Are plunger is rubbing on what? Which component?
Barrel.
barrel पे लगा
Barrel, sir, barrel.
That is going to get transmitted onto the barrel. And when it gets transmitted onto the barrel, every time the fuel cutoff is taking place, every time the spill is taking place, it's providing a thrust. So what will happen? What will happen because of this? Yes.
It will eat the inner part of barrel, sir.
अरे उससे क्या होगा? Hit तो नहीं. It is not going to hit because it's already there in very close proximity of the same. But what will happen?
Sir, wear out.
Wear out. Uneven wear out. One side the plunger and barrel, they are going to wear out more. So अगर आपका spill खाली एक side से from this side is taking place, it's going to give a thrust on this side. The plunger and barrel, they are going to wear out on this side. But if I can provide the spill on both the sides, if I can provide the spill on this side and this side, both the forces will cancel out. F and F, whatever thrust is there, they will cancel out. And the plunger and barrel will have much longer life. So all the bigger plunger and barrels, they will have double helical grooves cut on the plunger. So this has got a double helical groove. Is that clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is this pump. You can see there is something called as suction valve. You may be wondering कि ये delivery valve तो पढ़ा था, ये suction valve क्या चीज है? ये आपका suction valve है यहाँ ऊपर में. I'll tell you what is that suction valve. This is the suction valve. ये पूरा suction valve assembly है. Okay. So this is called as the suction valve. Okay. And this suction valve allows the fuel to flow into the pump. The suction valve is so designed that it will operate, it will open up at a very low pressure. When the pressure on outside is there, very low pressure, the valve will open and fuel will be filled up inside the pump body. The fuel will go all the way through the high pressure pipe and fuel will be available right up to the fuel injector. And remember that in ME and BMW type of fuel pump, the fuel injectors are recirculation type of fuel injectors. There is a de-aeration valve provided or de-aeration hole which is provided in the fuel injector. So this fuel comes, even when the engine is stopped, the suction valve remains open by the supply pump pressure of 8 to 10 bar. The suction valve opens up. When suction valve opens up, the whole of the pump casing is filled up with fuel oil. The fuel is available. Sorry, my mistake. Very sorry. This is not the high pressure pipe. The high pressure pipe is provided here on the side. This is the high pressure pipe. Okay, ये high pressure pipe है यहाँ पर, not on the top. So this high pressure pipe is going to the fuel injector, and fuel injector is of recirculation type. So even when the engine is not running, there is a recirculation slide valve which is there. The fuel goes in, it lifts up that slide valve, and there is a return line from the fuel injector. It goes back to the fuel oil recirculation system. So even when the engine is in stop condition, fuel is continuously available right till the nozzle of the fuel injector. That is the whole purpose of this suction valve. Suction valve allows the fuel to come in even when the engine is not operating, but your supply system must be operating. There should be 8 to 10 bar pressures available in the system. So that is a very big advantage when you can start the engine on heavy fuel oil, you can stop the engine on heavy fuel oil, you can run the engine on heavy fuel oil. And even when you have a long port stay, you can maintain the fuel oil at a high temperature and keep circulation on. And the fuel temperature will be maintained right up to the fuel injector. You don't have to stop the fuel system unnecessarily. You don't have to change over the fuel oil system to diesel oil at all. You can continue to operate it, start, stop, and run it on heavy fuel oil. Okay, so that's a very clear advantage what you're getting. That's why a suction valve is provided. Now somebody may ask this question: कि suction valve की जरूरत ही क्या है? If I remove this suction valve, you know, suction valve will sit back It is so designed that suction valve will close as soon as the fuel injection is supposed to commence. जैसे ही the moment the top of the plunger covers the spill port, the pressure starts to increase. The suction valve sits back. The suction valve does not allow the fuel to go back out through its opening into the fuel supply system. While when the plunger is moving down or when the engine is in stationary condition, it's not running, the suction valve will lift against the spring and it will allow the fuel to be recirculated through the pump and the fuel injector. So suction valve has got a very clear advantage. It allows the fuel to come into the system. It allows the fuel to be recirculated through the system. Right up to the fuel injector, the fuel is available. Even when the engine is not running, but the fuel system is running, the suction valve remains lifted and allows the fuel circulation to take place. Is that clear to everybody, the purpose of suction valve?
Yes, sir.
Any doubt is there, you can raise your hand and you can ask me that doubt right now.
Sir, where is this discharge valve? Above this suction valve, sir?
There is no discharge valve. There is no discharge valve. Why there is no discharge valve? Because this type of, there is no non-return delivery valve. There is no delivery valve at all in this type of fuel pump because it is allowing the fuel to be always present right up to the fuel injector nozzle. Always, 100% of the time, engine running or not running. The fuel is full in the high pressure pipe. The fuel is full right up to the fuel injector. It never gets emptied. And that is why you don't need a non-return valve to trap the fuel in the high pressure pipe. When the plunger is going down, the fuel comes in through outside. While in case of a Bosch type of pump, there will be a moment when the plunger comes down that it will create a vacuum and it will draw in all the oil back from the high pressure pipe, from the injector, back into the pump casing, back on top of the plunger. But in this case, that is not the, this is not the case. Okay. So you have the non-return valve, you have the suction valve and suction valve immediately opens up. You can see suction valve is provided on top. यहाँ पे suction valve provide किया है. Plunger end of travel is somewhere over here. Suction valve is provided over here. This entire thing is the suction valve assembly. उसमें valve part ये है. You have the valve part which will lift up. It will allow the oil to come in, fill up this pump casing. It will allow the oil to go out through the high pressure pipe and right up to the fuel injector. Our fuel injector say then you have one fuel oil return line or recirculation line which is there, which is going back to the fuel oil supply system. Is that clear to all?
Sir, can you please repeat it once again?
Which part? Which part you want me to repeat?
Sir, same
Entire-
that you have said last time.
You have the fuel always available. If the pump is not running, if the engine is not running, engine is in stop condition, ये fuel बाहर से आता है. You can see, fuel will be coming from outside. You'll have a fuel oil connection from outside. Fuel is coming from outside. Fuel is available in this space. The fuel comes in. Fuel is available in all of this space, actually. ये पूरे space में low pressure fuel oil 8 to 10 bar that is available. So this fuel oil gets through this suction valve into the pump. It is available on top of the plunger. It is available in the entire high pressure pipe. It is available right up to the fuel injector. And from fuel injector, when the engine is not running, there is a recirculation or deaeration valve. There is a deaeration or recirculation valve which is there in the fuel injector. So it lifts up at 8 or 10 bar pressure and it allows the fuel to be recirculated. Fuel recirculation ke liye a small line is given which takes the fuel out back into the fuel oil recirculation system or fuel oil supply system. The fuel is always available right up to the nozzle of the fuel injector. Because the fuel is always available, you don't need a non-return valve, is not needed over here. Okay, so you don't need non-return valve. The purpose, the whole purpose, the sole criteria of putting a non-return valve is to ensure that your high pressure pipe does not get emptied when the plunger starts its way downwards in a Bosch type of pump. Here, that is not the case. When the plunger starts its journey, downward journey, immediately your suction valve opens up and continues to supply the oil. So there is no vacuum created inside the pump body or inside the high pressure pipe or inside the fuel injector body. And the fuel always remains full in the system. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
समझ में आ गया ना?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Understood,
हाँ.
sir.
अच्छा, अगर सक्शन वाल्व नहीं दिया है Bosch type of pump में, let me go to that Bosch type of pump quickly. तो उससे सक्शन वाल्व का you will be able to understand the suction valve's significance of suction valve. अभी यहाँ पे क्या होता है in this Bosch type of pump? You can see. Let me talk about case number D. ये D की बात करें या C की बात करें, कोई की भी बात कर सकते. We can talk about case any of these, C or D. So let me take case C over here. End of fuel injection has taken place, right? The plunger will go slightly up. थोड़ा सा और ऊपर जाएगा. The spill port is in front of the helical groove. So your fuel is available, fuel pressure on the top is now already 8 to 10 bar now. It's no more high pressure. Then the plunger starts to come down. Plunger starts to come down till the time the helical groove remains in front of the spill port and the suction port. Fuel continues to come into and on top of the plunger. It continues to fill up the top of the plunger. कोई problem नहीं. But on the way down, there will come a time when the spill port and the suction ports, they are covered by the plunger. ये जो इसका travel है, effective stroke का जो travel है, on the downward travel, for this duration, the suction and the spill ports, they remain covered and the plunger continues to move downward. Because the plunger continues to move downward, it creates a vacuum on top because of non-delivery valve present on the top. ऊपर में तो आपका non-return valve है. You have a non-return valve which is present on the top. This non-return valve doesn't allow the oil to come back. The plunger has covered the spill port and the suction ports, so the fuel cannot come from outside also. That is also blocked. So what will happen? There will be a vacuum which will be created for the downward travel, a part of the downward travel of the plunger. So that causes cavitation. इसकी वजह से vacuum की वजह से there will be some vapor generation, and that causes cavitation, that causes bubble formation or vapor formation which bursts later. So it causes the cavitation, it causes a vacuum generation inside this pump. It's very normal. All the Bosch pumps are designed to operate like that. Have you understood this? Why vacuum will be created?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this vacuum creation problem will not at all be there with a MAN type of fuel pump because there is a suction valve. The moment the plunger starts to move downwards, the suction valve will lift and the fuel will be always kept full inside the pump, high pressure pipe, right up to the injector. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Abhi doubt hai, pucho. Ask me. You have a doubt, you may be having a silly doubt, please ask me now. Raise your hand and ask, or you can directly unmute yourself and ask. Doubt hai? Yes? नहीं ऐसा नहीं है, उल्टा है. वहां पे MAN BMW इंजन में, let me clear off the screen, it's just the opposite. Let me go to that. So in this fuel pump, again the fuel injection starts when the top of the plunger covers the spill port. ये spill port है. The moment the top of the plunger covers the spill port, the delivery of the fuel will start. The moment the top of the plunger covers the spill port, the suction valve also closes. Because inside pressure is more, outside pressure is less, suction valve recedes. Suction valve closes, so the fuel cannot go out. Otherwise, the fuel can leak back into the fuel supply system through suction valve. The suction valve closes the moment fuel delivery begins. The suction valve is also closed, and the fuel starts going through the high pressure pipe into the fuel injector. Is that clear now? Okay. So that was about the suction valve. Rest I'll talk about in the next class.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So that puncture wall is similar to a needle wall?
नहीं puncture valve की अभी बात नहीं करी है. I'll explain to you in the next class.
Okay.
So puncture valve will be used for cutoff, emergency cutoff, and engine shutdown. It's nothing to do with the needle valve, or it's nothing to do with the delivery valve. ठीक है?